Have you checked the children? Your little mess
Hi, I'm Chucky. Wanna play?
Sometimes that is better.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
Howdy folks, welcome back to the Horror Show. I'm Robert the Wolfman.
And you got Jaime and Fuego here doing another patron request. We appreciate the hell out of y'all so very much. And this is John Fairley, a relatively new supporter of the show, and greatly appreciated. And we be talking about Ravenous. That's right. Not to be confused with the Archenemy song from Wages of Sin, which is friggin' awesome.
I was about to say, that's a damn good song.
Really good song. But yeah, so this was a late 90s, if
99.
I'm not mistaken. 99,
Yep.
yeah. I remembered it was right around that, transition over to the new millennium and the fears of Y2K and all that BS. But yeah, this is a cannibal dark comedy in a lot of ways, I would say. And yes, of course, if you're dealing with that sort of subject matter, there's going to be some horror elements involved. Don't expect anything to the degree of like Cannibal the Musical in this instance. You know,
not,
it's
not that level of comedy.
Not full on
like,
spoof or anything.
yeah.
It's a very dark black comedy in what it intends to do. But I saw this back as a kid in theaters. I don't think I was quite old enough to be in the theater. I don't know if I had an accompanying guardian or if we just had an older kid buy us tickets or we snuck in or whatever the hell it was. And I loved it as a kid, especially because of the fact that I like period pieces, the fact that it's late 1800s, forging into the frontier when they were still trying to get so much figured out on that side of the United States.
Yeah, and this was, I want to say, was set during the Spanish-American War.
Okay, so mid 1800s.
Yeah,
because I'm trying to remember date specifics, but
oh god,
I don't know if that was.
It was like mid to late 1800s. God damn it.
Yeah, I was gonna say I can't
bad
recall.
For not remembering this.
I can't recall if it was before or after the Civil War. I want to say after.
It was definitely after.
Yeah, it was definitely after. You know, but nonetheless, it takes place in a rural area, Colorado, if I specifically remember,
no,
or is it California?
I believe it was New Mexico.
Okay, well,
I believe it was an outpost in northern New Mexico.
Okay, well, yes, I know for sure that it is very much just echoing aspects of what happened with the Donner Party, and so that's a big realm of inspiration that they probably dealt with, and yeah, as far as overall thoughts go, I loved this movie when I first saw it. I bought it on DVD shortly thereafter, and it sat in my collection for a while, but I never rewatched it, despite telling people all the time how much I loved it. As a collection grows and you have new stuff you want to see, so I had replaced it about a year ago with the Blu-ray that I think had some new special features, if I'm not mistaken. A couple new interviews, talking with some of the actors, like Rush and a few others. But yeah, I still really enjoy it, but I feel like the tonal disparity came across a little bit more distinctively to me this particular time, most notably that some of the aspects with the score and also how a few scenes were shot and acted and whatnot. But there was a transition from the directorial standpoint mid-production, and I think maybe that could have had something to do with they're like, oh well, we want to make a horror movie, or maybe the studio is like, we want to make a darker comedic and sillier sort of thing. It's not silly really, aside from a few scenes, but yeah, it wears its goofiness on its sleeve in a couple specific beats. So I still really like it, but I think my affirmation has gone down just the slightest degree, man. What about you?
Okay. Honestly, I forgot how much I enjoyed this movie, and it was nice to go back and do a rewatch on this. I remember really enjoying it years ago when I first watched it, because it's been quite a while since I've put this on, but still just as enjoyable between the acting. And again, I like period pieces and everything. We got a couple of people here on the show. They're not big fans of them and everything. It's fine and dandy.
One in particular.
Yeah, one in particular. But no, like this movie was really well done. It looked great. It had the nice gloomy gray overtones and everything, just to kind of again signify the despair of where they were at in middle of winter, and you've really got no one else but yourselves. Yeah,
you're stuck in an outpost in the middle of nowhere, as we'll get to in story stuff, and so yeah, the isolation aspect and just some of the fog and overcastness and the snow obviously too, which we get in certain bits. So yeah, I still love the look of this movie, and most notably, more so than anything, I love Guy Pearce's performance.
Absolutely.
And just the arc of his character from coward to really just living up to something.
Well,
you know.
even well, obviously we'll get into this during acting, but Robert Carlyle.
That's the guy who was Rumpelstiltskin on Once Upon a Time.
I believe so. He was also 28 Weeks Later. He's been in a bunch of stuff. Yeah, that I think he was also Trainspotting.
Yes, he was.
Yeah, he was Trainspotting 1 and 2. He was in that.
So many things, but this was maybe one of the first. You know,
I think it was for me, but going back and rewatching his performance and everything, it's like it was amazing. But yeah, we'll definitely get into that for acting and whatnot. But yeah, just finish up overall thoughts. It still holds up. It's still a great acted movie between. Again, the acting, the score, everything in between. If you guys haven't checked this out, highly recommend it.
Yeah, and also the cast of characters too, and how they're written as we segue into story. So, essentially, when we first meet Guy Pearce's character, he is somebody who is in just the heat of battle, and he decides to hide amongst a bunch of other bodies in the
He basically takes a nap.
Yeah, he does. And they even come up to him at a particular point, and they're just looking at all of the corpses within this Spanish-American War battle that he was waging. And he just didn't have any bravery, no bravado. He hid and escaped, and they still awarded him with a medal of some sort.
Well, because
if I remember
what happened
correctly.
is, it was he ended up getting a bunch
that's
of
right,
bodies.
But then he goes and storms.
Yeah,
and
he was because he was the last one
attacks.
alive after being buried up underneath a bunch of his comrades.
Well, he hid within the corpses, you know.
Well, they piled it on him and everything because he was the sleeping thing. But he gets up and then basically takes over the fort in a sense or whatever that they were fighting at, and is awarded a medal and everything for his bravery. But once the colonel realizes how everything came about, he basically gives him a backhanded promotion.
Ship you off.
To this desolated outpost in northern New Mexico as a third in command colonel, lieutenant, or whatever.
I forget the rank.
Something like that. Yeah.
But I mean, he wasn't lower level or anything. He was supposed to be somebody of prominence, but really. There's not a lot of work to be done at this particular place, and so there's just kind of drinking and hanging out and seeing if there is anything that's going to transpire. You have a Native American who was there with them. You also have David Arquette and a few other peeps, but it's just desolate and nothing to do until a mysterious person shows up there, right?
And that's played by Robert Carlyle, and basically he gives them this big long story of what happened to him and his party, how they got lost and basically had to take shelter in a cave during a snowstorm. And again, like Fuego said earlier, it does take a lot of things off of like the Donner Party massacre and things like that, of real problems that settlers and frontiersmen were going through. And
it was a treacherous journey.
Trying
to get across those Rockies and everything else, you know. So
and also one thing I liked about with the story and what they did with this is they played into the Native American folklore of the Wendigo and the cannibalism. So basically, if you eat the flesh of your fellow human, you gain
their power.
Yeah, you basically gain their power and everything in the essence of the Wendigo, which is an insatiable flesh hunger. Excuse me.
No, you're good. And so fascinating in that regard. And that's where I think this might have been one of my first introductions into this particular lore. And it's definitely different than some of the Wendigo lore that I heard, for instance, from, like Pet Cemetery, where it was a different variation, and we're talking Native Americans on the other side of the country, practically. But, this one... And with how they develop it, and without revealing it, because we're trying not to spoil things, you wonder certain character motivations, and then even those change over the course of the film as certain beats just turn into carnage and kind of craziness, and some of the reveals and how well was the story told, and any sort of dishonesty, and but yet also the building mythology of the strength gain. And there's almost a vampiric essence to it.
To a point, especially at one point with Carlisle's character talking with Guy Pearce when he's explaining of basically his backstory of what actually, his ailments.
What actually happened.
Yeah, what actually happened, what he was actually going through, and how he's basically changed to become a new man.
And we also see just the way he looks very haggard early on, and then when certain things change and certain consumptions transpire, yeah, he looks much more youthful. He looks, and he's dressed better, and he's sharper and less erratic and everything. And so there's the temptation aspect that I think is intriguingly built into this as well, with regards to the Guy Pearce character, and how you realize one of the reasons why he actually survived that situation and had the strength to really do what he did at the beginning of the film and get this sort of award and distinction and recognition despite his cowardice. And so yeah, I really enjoy a lot of the lore. It's really from a technical standpoint and from a score standpoint that this film felt stranger to me than upon earlier viewings of it. When I first bought the DVD and saw it in theaters.
Okay. Well, on that, we want to get into the music then.
Yeah.
So we might as well. So honestly, the
strange score.
The score
really
was
is
very strange, but it worked out, especially too with the dark comedy aspect with Carlisle's character, especially after the reveal of what actually happened. The little chase scene basically with one of the lieutenants after he kills all the rest of the people. It was basically like a cat.
Oh, it was a wimpy guy, if I remember correctly. Yeah.
Yeah, but it was like a cat and mouse kind of score, and he was toying with him, and it was fun, but it was scary at the same time.
Yeah, there was a strange playfulness to it, which is one of the things where I almost felt like it was juxtaposing, and that's my word of the day for pretty much everything I've freaking filmed, is that where it kind of counterbalances the nastiness of what's transpiring on screen with something a little more playful for whatever reason, and it's just it's tonally odd, but
it's modern, but at the same time they do take a lot of the cues off the like old
instrumentation
of that time's music.
Yeah.
So especially like bar style musics and stuff like that.
Yeah, very much so. And I mean, this was long before we even had like ragtime and things of that nature. But still, well, actually, if it's post Civil War and Spanish War, I guess it's around that sort of time. But just some of the weird sound choices instrumentally and stuff, and some of the chord progressions, it just fed to this weird dynamic that they were going for. And I guess I respect and appreciate that, but it didn't always work for me on this particular viewing. Like, all of my recollections were specifically about the lore and the storytelling and the performances, which we've touched on already, obviously. It was from that technical and sonic aspect, I think, that I didn't notice as much when I was a lot younger, that I had just differing feelings, perhaps. So,
okay.
Yeah.
You can see that. All right. Cinematography real quick.
Oh, it's beautifully shot.
Absolutely. And it was all outside set pieces built and everything like that. I don't know how many.
They built the whole fort area.
I believe so, and then certain shots I think they might have done on like a sound stage. At least for like some certain indoor shots at least. Yeah. But even the lighting on this, because it was all technically like fire or candlelight that they used. So there was a lot of oranges and reds, but a lot of dark overtones as well. Yeah,
especially with some of those candlelit bits when they're back at this fort and you're seeing a reveal about certain characters and you're eating in this kind of ominous low light and stuff like that as certain reveals are transpiring about just strength you can gain from certain consumptions and stuff. It is impressively shot. It really genuinely is, and it gives you that desolate, isolated sort of feel with a lot of the shots. And once again, credit to the fact that even though, as Robert said during pre-production, the director of this, a female director, she was the replacement when this film started shooting. They had already done some stuff, and there was creative differences, script and rewrite stuff that was going down, but she was the initial suggestion, if I'm not mistaken.
I believe she originally was, and then she was technically that still a secondary choice, but still their first choice at the same time. Yeah, and so she actually, I'm trying to remember if she was friends or dating one of the main actors in this, but lo and behold, she ended up getting the job and did a fantastic bit of work here. Absolutely.
I don't know if there was an extensive IMDb for hers, but nonetheless, yeah, beautiful looking film. Everything done with her and the cinematographer, between the cave shots and everything within the fort and within these small structures, even smaller within there. It's a great looking movie.
Absolutely. The wilderness shots that we get in this are breathtaking. They really are, and they're very well done. Yeah. Between the set design and even the clothing and things like that. But hell, even going real quick onto effects, just to segue into that, for the gore and the mayhem that we get, it was pretty believable, but it wasn't overly...
It wasn't abundant.
No, it wasn't. It was still tastefully done for the subject matter that was going on.
Yeah.
It's not that brutal in your face like Cannibal Holocaust and
no, nothing even
crap
close
like
in that regard. Yeah. We'll see, especially with regards to our one character, which will go unnamed since I'm trying so hard not to spoil this certain stuff, but. Yeah, there was a little bit of carnage in the early fighting scene, the battle scene, the war bit, and then we also got a slight amount when characters are like falling and rolling down cliffs and all
that was
this
actually
crazy
that was
dance,
a greatly shot scene.
Yeah,
that whole fight scene on the cliff, that was great.
Yeah, so it's accomplished, but it's not gratuitous. Is the best way I would describe it, and it
tastefully
really turns,
violent.
Yeah, it turns more into. I don't want to compare this to Silence of the Lambs because it's not in any way, shape, or form that, but there is a tastefulness to the cannibalness, and really, if you guys remember, Anthony Hopkins
gives you an appetite.
Anthony Hopkins only really goes hardcore biting and covered in blood from eating. It's like once or twice in that film. I think really only once when he has that initial escape. And so, yeah, this one has a similar sort of vibe, in my opinion, where it does not show the nastiness. It's much more from a psychological thriller with weird sprinklings of dark comedy standpoint, and that's where it's a melting pot, just like America was becoming around this time.
Exactly.
So, that's the best way I can sum it up.
Well,
anything else? Yeah.
I would say honestly, I think we covered most of it. Like I said earlier, if you guys haven't checked out Ravenous, it's definitely worth the watch, especially if you are interested in the Native American lore of the Wendigo and things like that, or even just just to see things that could have and might have happened back with travelers and things.
Cannibalistic, vampiric. I mean, this could exist in a lot of different subgenres of horror.
Things like this is where we get all of our legends and our lore. So yeah.
Straight up, guys. So thank you so very much again, to John Farrelly.
Yes.
Not to be confused with either of the Farrelly brothers, but we are so appreciative of your support and your presence here in this space with us, and can't wait to hear what your next suggestion is, good sir. If you want to become a patron yourself, check out those deets below. Like, share, subscribe when and if this migrates over to the YouTubies.
Absolutely. Always want to keep caught up in our beautiful faces and see all of our spooky reviews.
Damn easy, guys. So, that will be the end of the proceedings. Robert has had a long day today, and
yes,
you deserved it. You worked your ass off.
It's been a long day, guys. I am going to bed. So from everyone here at the Horror Show, I'm Robert the Wolfman.
And gracias a Jaime and Fuego.
And remember, stay scared.